Hey, everybody. Thank you and welcome to the Coach Henry Show. I want a special shout out to Brownstone Capital Investments for all your real estate investment needs. Thank you for your support. And today, I always love, to have my friends and guests do a little intro about themselves because no one says it better. I like talking about myself. We all like talking about ourselves a little bit. But honestly, one of my newest friends to my world, Jeremy, we met through a couple things. One of us will tell you the story, but I'm going to turn over to him a little bit about who he is, what he does, and then I'll come back and why I invited him to be a guest. Because he's probably like, and then we could. This could be a good one. I just know we're gonna battle with love and friendship, and it's a word there, tier of endearments. So with that being said, guys, Jeremy, who are you?
Great question. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I'm a serial entrepreneur, really, really focused on tech, and I'm a husband, and more recently, Miamian. So more recently, left the Midwest to go live in Miami.
Hey, just on that, sorry, but from what I see in your Miami living, not too shabby, buddy.
Yeah.
Not too shabby. So the Midwest would be very proud of you.
I mean, I miss it. Don't get me wrong.
You could visit.
But I could honestly say at this point, it was more about lifestyle design, weather, taxes. Somebody said shovel sand, not snow. So I followed that dream.
Well, kudos to you, my friend.
Well, it wasn't actually my fault. My wife said, "Why are we going to Miami for the 5th time this year and staying in a hotel?" So, okay, we should probably move.
I knew your wife was a wise woman. She just upped that ante, so shout out to her. So continue, a serious entrepreneur.
Yeah, serial entrepreneur, serial offender of building unique things, really focused on creativity. So my brain, I think, just wired differently. And more recently, lifestyle designing. So I went from brute force, work your ass off, make it as, put as much time and effort and energy into something. And I started to peel back what that was doing to my life and focusing in on my own why. Like, why am I doing all this?
Right.
If it's not just money all the time, there's a threshold that you cross of comfort. And then you say, why? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I think I've changed I'm an serial entrepreneur to I'm more of a lifestyle designer now. Hence, you probably see my every morning sunrise post.
Oh, I love them.
That's my why.
I love it. Well, that's actually one of my questions in a little bit, and we'll come back to that. So I want to kick this off just because I feel it sets a foundation of how your mind works. You said it. Another friend of mine shared, look, I'm not for everybody. And I love when she said that. I'm not for everybody, right? But what she is, she is, and those love that, right? And that's how I hear you saying that, because you do have a unique mind, and it's a beautiful mind. And I got to know your type of mind from my son-in-law because you guys are a little bit in that world, right? But him, like you, which is a rarity, are entrepreneurs. It's not a normal. And, you obviously have been doing this quite a bit, and you have some great successes in that. And we could talk about failures in a moment. But can you just share like either a current one or one of your more recent ones? Because I want to give for those that are coming in for the first time, with you, obviously, is, what is something that they can relate to in that mind that you put it to work and you, it's paid off for you, thankfully?
I think in general, there was a natural progression of all of these businesses. They're wildly different from each other. Some in healthcare, which was more my own personal journey, learning natural products and getting off of all of the traditional healthcare pieces. And then that turned into e-commerce, which turned into payments. Payments turned into all these other technologies and pieces that I've put out there. So for me, it was following my journey as a person and learning how to monetize those things along the way. I'm also, I think most of where I see my ideas stemmed from, and even just the journey of building all of these different companies, is internalizing my how I was raised.
Yeah.
Right? I was a survivalist.
Right.
Came from an extremely rough beginning, humble beginning. And my father was like, get up early, go work your ass off all day and night, time, effort, energy. And those are the types of tools I built. I really identified gaps along the way. This is missing. I can do that. I think I can do it better. I think every entrepreneur has that small miswiring, if you will. I think I can do that better, faster, stronger, easier. And then I learned how to monetize. And that was really the crux of every business I've built was, can I do something extremely small and make money doing it and then scale it up? So I was never a go raise capital kind of guy. I was more, can we build something at small scale and scale it up? One of those things was my passion. I love design. I've always loved it since I was young. So
on that note, did you design a lot of your current place to live?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, I only know, I haven't had the pleasure of seeing your places, but what you've shared on social media, it looks really nice.
Yeah, I'm not an interior designer, but I have an eye for all things design.
Yeah.
So I think from brand to interiors, I'm a hotel junkie. Now I know why. I love walking into these hotels and I'm like, I would have never put this with that. There's, crystal and then there's all these unique glasses and things are curved. So I started to recognize that for myself and of course in interior. Unfortunately for my wife, and maybe even fortunately, I kind of take over. I'm like, okay, I like this and I'm going to put this wallpaper. She's like, whoa. But I can see it.
Right.
And so I built a design agency because I was trying to be supportive of all of my crazy ideas.
Yeah.
So I started a company years and years ago. A group of friends of mine was called the Original Click. So it was in the mid 90s when I registered originalclick.com because I'm like, I'm going to build this thing and we can share all our pictures and stuff on it. So that was Original Click. And that turned into a web development company because I had learned the art of building websites. And that's how I got into my first career working in manufacturing, totally unique business model. And from there, Original Click turned into an agency and design was my focus.
Yeah.
I did some really unique projects, but design was really where my heart was. So a couple of years ago, I said, how do I scale and monetize this? And I built a company called designed.co and said, how do we take all of the process of what I learned in manufacturing, Six Sigma, and really reducing all of the waste and turning it into a really high efficiency product for myself. It was because I was spinning out all these ideas in companies all the time. And so Design Co was born and we built software to communicate and collaborate and streamline all of the work so that I could take what would have been a big design hour expense to a really low cost product. And I did. With extremely talented people, and more recently brought in an investor who acquired a fairly large portion of that company into a bigger roll-up of marketing and communications tools.
Yeah.
Has a great operational background. He actually bought a company from me previously, so it was a really known relationship. So that's kind of how my mind worked, right? They're great operators. I'm a good builder. I know where I fit into the world of tech. I'm not really the day in, day out operator. It's not what I want to do. And in lifestyle design, it was more about autonomy for me. I need to free up that, the capital of time.
Yeah.
So that I have more time to get up and watch the sunrise.
Well,
or travel.
And that's a beautiful intro, honestly, because in the time I've known you and getting to know you, I would love to share this with the viewers and the guests and the people listening is two things from what you just shared. One, the hard work that you learned from your dad, I think is vital, especially in today, because a lot of people don't know good old fashioned hard work, right? Let's just compare it to farming, like getting up and getting it done.
Yeah.
Right. But what you brought in an era, because you brought in a powerful question that needs to be asked is, how do you make this better? And there's nothing wrong with that question, because then what you did is, well, just because this is the way we've always done it doesn't mean that's the way it always needs to be. You took the hard work, all the good things about those great qualities, but you also said to yourself, I believe this is how your mind went. but wait a minute, if I do this to what, I'm 65, how about if I make this better, faster, more people benefit from it? I can then use more time to do more things. And all of a sudden, I like to call it the slumdog millionaire effect of Jeremy. Perfect things along your path came to create your great story. Because think about it, you started by saying the work ethic was there. And then you're like, not necessarily trying to get out of the hard work, but there has to be a better way to do this. And then you added that passion for design.
Yeah.
And then one thing led to another. And even the fact how you and I met. We met because of my sister. That all happened, I believe, in Miami because of this and CJ, and they all looking for something. I think it was a design thing with an artist.
Yeah.
And then the thing you know is here we are, which goes back to an episode which will stay on cue here of not waffling, but about stepping. And that's why I say the slumdog millionaire effect of perfect things aligning in a beautiful, blessed way that brought us to these moments where you're now in a position to say, and I give you credit for the second part. So the first part, just to recap for anybody, is question it. Can I make it better? And how can I make it better? Because it's a good thing. And then the second part of that is also recognizing your skills and talents and what you're not great at or passionate. Because the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs, is they want to do it all. They don't want to give other people opportunities, a lot of time out of fear and a lot of time out of control. But then guess what? They ruin it because they don't know when to hand the ball off. You quite clearly said, look, I know where I want to be, and I'm going to find the right people to align with my vision.
No, actually.
Tell me.
I was exactly what you just defined. I was the brute force. I'll be all things to all people.
Okay.
And those were every failure I've had was me trying to do all the things I recognized I wasn't good at because I was told, like, if you don't like push-ups, do some push-ups.
Right.
Get used to it, figure it out, learn it. And I'm happy that I did have those, the ability to learn it, but then I would just do it again.
Right.
And it would fail. And I'm like, why did this fail? It's like, you're the sales guy, you're the marketing guy, you're the tech guy, and you do have to wear all those hats.
Right.
I mean, there's a point where you have to understand you have to do all of that. You
And-
have to,
and-
at least you need to know it.
And Jeremy, just for that note, I agree with you. Being a preneur myself, I get it. And it's important. I still to this day help my team understand all the roles, but then ultimately come to a place where which are the ones you want to master. Because like you said, a good quarterback, you like football like I like football to a certain degree.
I mean, if you're a Bears fan, maybe not so much.
I am not. I will not say for the sake of the show
who
my team is.
I got it.
No, just joking. But, let's say a quarterback. Quarterback's job is to understand all the positions, but they're not to do it all. They can do a lot of it, but not all. So you went through that, which I think is great because you recognize it. Continue, please.
Yeah, so it wasn't even just the recognition that I couldn't do it. It's that my focus was on the wrong things. And that thing was business and money. And, I wanted to make my baby was the business and it wasn't me. And so when I think when I shifted focus to my own happiness and my why, which we haven't talked about, but in general, there was a shift for me to say, when I'm in this state of mind, everything else seemed to work. And the people who I would have to have micromanaged through all the processes to be all of the perfection that I was like, I could do it better than you. So I'm just going to do it myself. But that was the problem, was that I didn't give people enough rope.
Yeah.
And there was a point in which I was just going to do it faster and better than anybody else was going to do it anyway, even if I did it wrong. And I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And then I realized, like, even when I had a product-based business and I was doing shipping, and I'm like, oh, I'll get that tomorrow. And then 2 days go by, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't shipped anything.
Right.
That's not your role. Like,
Right.
Jeremy needs to focus in on this. But that was only being focused on roles and responsibility of a company and not the why of what I was doing. And everything was for money's sake because I was a survivalist. It was, make money enough to continue on and have even just a generic stability. And that was when I was younger. as I got older, I had that terrible mindset that was carried forward from it of having to accomplish all of these things, and I was on my own.
Right.
I didn't trust anybody else to do it. I had the ball. I had to run with it.
Right.
So I think when I shifted it to more thoughtful about myself, everything else fell in line. And when I had that same vision that you did, which is go with the flow, like literally go with the flow of these continual, like I met CJ and Trixie, and then I met you, and like these things just keep getting better because of the state of mind, not because I was targeting hey, let's go on podcasts and, what is it going to do to help me and my business and this and that. It's like, really don't care. That's not why I'm here.
Right.
I think it's more about the why now than it was the what. How do you, how do you build it?
And I agree with you, Jeremy, 100%, which is, it's funny, as I'm putting this together, there's only 4 questions that I normally have, really only 4 for the entire show. And one of them is the why then and the why now. And because there's a great book I read a long time ago, and it said, what got you here won't get you there. And it's a great book that really helped change my perspective, because what got me here necessarily is going to get me there. So it really helped change, because a lot of times it's got, we got through high school, there's certain things that you can carry, but the rest isn't going to get you necessarily through college, for example, using that example. So I want to go back to your why, because I believe that was a pivotal point in your life. So the younger Jeremy, the one that's the preneur, the one that's taking the hard work, the grit, how has it changed the why from then to the why now? And if there's not a drastic change, how are you making that at the forefront?
Oh, there's a drastic change.
There you go. Then there it is.
It's a drastic change.
So how are those whys change?
The why before was survival.
Okay. May I ask, was that like out of fear, out of not having, of not being approved?
All of the above. I lived
Okay.
in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago. My father had I'd call it a car wash, but it wasn't like an automated car wash. You drive cars into a bay. We lived in a car. I mean, it was tough. It was a tough upbringing. And I saw him struggle through it. So I said, there was a really young version of myself that broke rank really early. This isn't how it's supposed to be. Now, my father did an amazing job of making the worst case scenario like amazing. If you've ever seen, I'm going to forget the name of this movie, but there's a Will Smith movie where he's a son.
Yes.
And he locks him into a bathroom, and he starts, making it something better than it. Hey, we're going to go camping, right? I have that moment with my father where he's like, we're going to put this tent up in this car. And I was like, we're living in a car. But he made it something so much bigger than it was for me.
May I ask, is your dad still alive?
No, he passed in April of last year, but he was 90 years old. So amazing life, man. Absolutely amazing.
And I remember that movie with Will Smith. We'll definitely give him a shout out, because it's a great movie with his son, and he definitely kept it together. And I love that you use that example, because my kids and I had a little podcast ourselves not too long ago, and we reminisced. Zach brought something up, and Cassie, each of both of them, of a memory of, and they said something similar, that we just made a bad situation not so bad, but in hindsight, you're like, that was bad.
It was really bad.
But so I just want to give credit to your dad for letting you feel what I feel is the most important part of family, which is loved, in a time that was difficult. And I can only imagine as a father, I get a little choked up, because as a father, you want to, it's not supposed to be like this. I can only imagine what your dad was trying to do for you.
I can't even imagine, like showering in a sink, and he was like, oh, this is going to be fun. Like we were going to a water park, and we did all of these things to right size it for me. And then I think the point in which I was like, this isn't how it's supposed to be, was he took me to, so he had all these millionaire clients that had multiple cars, and he would go pick those cars up, and like pick up this, 320 Mercedes. And I was like, wow, what is this? And we would go into their house to get the keys. And I was like, what, is this real? This life is, this is not realistic. There's like 70 bedrooms. And so my brain saw it, and I said, this is how it's supposed to be, right? And it was really young. And I was given all of the entrepreneur seizure, I'll call it, from my father. So at 6, I started a lemonade stand, which was wildly successful. I wrote a story about it, which is
Did you?
it's on my website.
Oh, we'll do it. What is the website, please?
It's jeremylaceris.com.
Okay.
I wrote a little story about it before my father passed, just so that he could see what I saw in what he gave me. Because I was like 5 or 6. I can't remember how old I was. And we were living in that garage. There's a picture of that garage on the website. Wow. I found it on Google Maps, so I was able to.
Did you really?
Yeah, I found it.
Wow.
So I put a picture up of it.
Techie comes true.
Absolutely. And anyway, I set up a lemonade stand, and there was like a construction site across the street, and I printed these menus and went around, and my father's like, I'm going to borrow you the money, but you're going to pay me back plus interest. And he started me really young, and I got super hungry for it. And that summer, I think I made like $3,000.
Wow.
Which I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And my father was super proud because we went from lemonade to hot dogs to hamburgers, and I had a microwave, and I bought a pizza oven.
Wow.
And then I got shut down by the health department. So I learned regulatory and compliance stuff right away.
Right away.
So it was really cool because I got that from him, but then I also got the other side of it, which was survivalist. I had this really horrible survivalist mentality. So it was like, I don't need anybody's help. I don't need anything from anyone. I will not build a team. There's no reason for it. I'm on my own. Go. And I moved out when I was relatively young. I was like 15. So at that point, it was like really difficult because I was trying to live an adult life as a child with this horrible mentality of survive.
Right.
And that's all it'll ever be, because there's a threshold, which I believe everyone has a self-concept level of what they think they're worth, what they think their value is, what they think they can achieve. And until you break rank from that, either this is what you see from your parents and you replicate what they do, or you're like, I'm going a different direction.
Right.
I don't believe that's how it's supposed to be. I hate to say that because it's like they're not my role models, right?
Right.
But I saw this other thing, so I went for it and slowly achieved it, but never let go of that survivalist mentality. So as I got older and I built businesses, it was based on a foundation of survivalist. Not a really healthy way to build a business.
Right.
Had some successes because I just brute force worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right.
At the failure of my health and well-being, my friendships, relationships, my first wife. So you can kind of see the pattern is
Sure.
Jeremy just has to be successful for Jeremy.
Right.
And it wasn't even all that long ago that I think my wife really brought balance back to being thoughtful about the why. So to that end, it was more about having something to focus on that was bigger than myself. So I wanted a purpose that was bigger than Jeremy.
Right.
Because I had been in survival mode for so long that when I gave back to other people and did little things to make other people happy, I found flow, and then everything else was extraordinarily aligned, and success came natural without any effort at all.
Wow.
So it was a point where effortless growth came from being happy.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, you tell somebody who's got to make, their rent tomorrow, go be happy and your rent will appear. And they'd be like, you're crazy. And I'm like, I know. It sounds ridiculous. But that's really what happened. Now, don't get me wrong. I had to have the background in history. I had to have the experience to turn that flow into money and success. But it's what I also did with it. Little things that I could easily identify because I'm a creative person. So back to the design thing. I knew that I can make things for people to make them happy, or just get a little tiny bit of joy for a minute. And that took me so much further in everything else I did than the focusing on the survival of a business or a model or whatever I was building.
Right.
So that's what I did. And I was fortunate to have had a career in marketing where your job is to have people have an emotion about what you're selling.
Right.
And I became extremely good at that. And that's a really good skill set for sales, which helped some of my companies hobble along, if you will.
Right.
And then I found what I'm good at. That takes time and failures. And those failures teach you what you should not do anymore. At some point, if you do it over and over again, I know there's a definition for this.
Insanity?
Yeah. So I know there's a definition for it, but it was failing so many times to get it right.
Yeah.
So now I know I'm a builder. I like to build things. I don't want to operate it. I'm not good at it.
Right.
Not that I can't do it, but that's not where I'm supposed to be.
Well, also, I think what you said is not the best use of your time or your talent. Well, going back to your story, number one, thank you for sharing that because I know it's a vulnerable part that it's a part of who you are. And yes, in hindsight, everything is 20/20, as they always say.
Yeah.
But you are blessed to be in a position where you recognize it and you're doing something good about it. A lot of people might have these epiphanies that you're sharing on their deathbed when they've lost it all and don't regain it. You're fortunate enough to not only regain it, but now having a great wife, some great friends, some great companies that are providing for you. So now, to your point, your why has shifted because I think your mindset has shifted, but it took everything it did to get to this point, which is what excites me, Jeremy. It excites me because now what are you going to do with it? And that's the beauty of this conquest for you because I believe you're an only child, correct? Or do you have siblings?
Lots of siblings.
How many?
9.
9?
Yeah.
Wow.
But in fairness, half step.
Okay.
So I'm an only child from my parents.
Okay. I knew I heard it somewhere. So, okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was you and I. But where I was going with that was this, that you like you said, you recognize that your survival mode got you to a certain point. But it wasn't sustainable, obviously, some of the wreckage that came along with that package.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is, again, you're young enough and working hard on your health, which is great. You're like, okay. And that's what excites me about this platform with you here even today. It's young entrepreneurs, older entrepreneurs, anybody at any stage going, okay, all those failures are failures if you leave them there.
Yeah.
But if you apply, if you start, and I think where you and I have a great common denominator is, look, I'm good in life. I'm in a good place. But what excites me is the journey with people. And yes, you're right. For someone to go, I'm trying to make my rent tomorrow. I'm trying to figure it out. Yes, it's a little harder to be optimistic. I get it.
Yeah.
And you and I both been there. But that gives us even a deeper appreciation for not being there. So I think since we're both givers, and I want to tell everybody, he gave me, I love candles, everybody. So if the show ever goes anywhere, I love candles, but he sent me a beautiful candle that smells really good. One of my favorite sayings, which is actions over excuses. I like the little,
greater than.
Greater than. See, I know. I see details and my logo, which I appreciate. But see, you said something in there that is teaching you and this journey to be thoughtful, more intentful, to really recognize. And I could tell, there's fake social media and then there's real social media. Now people go, why do you know the difference? I go, because you get to know the person.
Yeah.
And you know what they're sharing is real because they're just sharing their life. And I know that about you in the few times we've met. So I appreciate that glimpse into your life.
Thanks.
But that's what excites me so that people, whatever part of the journey is, you can, I always say we all have check boxes we check off. So someone says to you, Jeremy, do you know what this is like? Oh, no, I do know. And that's what I want people to connect in this format. Just so you know, I know you're going to get to it in a minute, but I want to bring it in there. I want this podcast, this show, anything I touch to be a relatable, applicable, real life platform for people to understand that we all need to be vulnerable, to be strong, to be graceful, and to have mercy for each other. And I say that because most people in most seasons of life are on both ends of the spectrum. The problem is somebody gets to where you are now. Let's just say you are in a good financial place. You live in a good place. You have a pretty wife. You have a great family. So you're going to bring with you all the judgment that comes with it. It's coming, or it's there.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing when you build things the right way, and you do the faithful route, you're going, you know what? That's good. But I have a mission and I'm going to do great things with this platform. And that is, to me, where I want to be approachable. I want people to know that there's a forum that you can, and you have every right to have been bitter, especially some personal things you share with me about what happened with your past and your ex, and you and I can relate in that area. We could be angry, we could be bitter. But there's a lot of things you could have been, and a lot of people are. You know them, I know them.
Victim mentality.
Absolutely. But the biggest encouragement from this with me and with you, especially in your level, is that you can show kindness, and you do. You can show excitement and hope, and you do. And this isn't a rah-rah show. This is a real show. This is a show that talks about the things that make us, that you started. You came from, no, I will never be that. And there's a friend, I won't say his name because unfortunately he has stayed in that scared mentality that you shared. And his success never reaches. I know he'll see my show and he'll know who he is, and I'll call him out, but I won't say his name. But this is why, because he doesn't release it. To your point, his story was right there in the car like you. But instead of ultimately, and he's a man of faith, meaning he really believes that vehicle, then you got to release it. Because at the end of the day, what we have, we cannot just hold on to. We have to release it. And that was part of your legitimate fear. You grew up not knowing. You grew up not having, seeing a lot. And that's why I attest, I'm grateful that you're here in this spot. So on that, your why drastically changed. So I know you have questions for me, but one of the questions I want to is I know, I've already seen it in the short time I've known you. How do you see yourself applying these blessings now, this new why that's really shifted it? What is the way you've been kind of not giving back, because I know you do in your million ways, but how do you're looking at that sunrise, beautiful sunrise.
Every day.
Every day. How are you living that out?
That's a tough question. I'm just doing my best for me. Yeah. I think I'm just trying to be. Where before it was, what do I have? Like, there's like a never-ending, relentless quest for all of these stuff and things. And that was me. Like, too much is never enough.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going and going and going. So to take a moment every morning and just breathe through 5 minutes of peace and quiet, that was the application of all of the things I had worked so hard for before.
Yeah, amen. I love that, Jeremy. I really do.
And then that sets the stage for everything else that follows.
Yeah.
People ask me, I mean, I have so many friends that are like, why in the hell do you get up at 5:30? You're sick. You don't need to do it. You're like, you're set. But it's not about waking up at 5:30, although it is a disease of getting up really early.
No,
don't get me wrong. Even on vacation, man.
Listen, we suffer the same disease. Both my kids are the same way. They both, but go on.
But I mean, I think that's ingrained in me naturally. I'm also a power napper. So my superpower is napping.
Okay. But,
we can talk about that another time.
No, but I just, one small waffle. This is a debatable. Your answer is going to set a segue, a different episode.
Okay.
What is what you consider a powerful nap? Because if I had a paper, I'd write it down like we're on a dating show.
Okay, so I definitely have a lot of research on this, on top of just my own personal application of it.
Okay.
I take power naps.
Okay.
And it's before you get into REM sleep. And that's different for everyone. Although I think Andrew Huberman talks about napping and the effect of it. There's a great podcast he runs specifically that talks about the science of it.
Okay.
But I basically get 10 minutes, and you could set a watch by me. I'll lay down. And I don't even need to lay down. I can take a nap right here, right now, just off. And 10 minutes later, I snap out of it like fully refreshed.
Better than 10 Red Bulls.
way better.
Yeah.
And in fact, up until 2014 or 15, maybe 2016 even. Yeah, it was 16 or 17 now that I'm saying it. I hadn't drank a single cup of coffee in my life.
Wow.
I'm not a coffee person. I don't need caffeine.
Right.
I'm just naturally aware and awake. Now, we went to Italy. My wife was like on a shopping spree of up and down the mountains. And I was in Positano, and I'm like, I'm dying. We had pizza. I had Prosecco. I'm like, I'm done.
Well, you and I both like a
And
Prosecco.
she's like, I'm going to this place, and we're going to go here and there. And she's like, just have an espresso. It was the worst thing I ever did. I had that espresso, and I was like, what is this? What is this? I've been chasing that high ever since.
I listen, I get you. I get you. But on that power nap.
Anyway, my power naps are 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, just so you know, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I am a 13-minute napper. Okay.
Set a watch by it.
Same with me. And there's a funny story I'll tell you real quick because my daughter's here today for this one. Is I would be driving, right? Long distance. It was just me and the two kids at that time. And I'd be, guys, I'm getting tired. That they couldn't. They're little.
Yeah.
I would pull over somewhere safe and go, guys, just put a clock, right? And back then, I mean, you got to like put a clock. No stop, no iPhones. And I literally, they're both little peanuts. I would put the seat back and they both would sit there and stare at the clock. And the minute it was the 13, I said, Dad, let's go. It's 30, right? They couldn't understand what 13 minutes did. But you and I both are the same page.
The reset button.
100%. And I'm with you. And I'm with you. And I have friends try to convince me. No, a friend of mine does it longer. I won't say her name. I go, no, that's not a nap. That's sleep. You should be in bed. That's sleep.
If I sleep past that, I needed it. If I sleep past that 10 minutes, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, you're not feeling good or something. But on a regular basis, I'm with you. And I'll do them anywhere as well as you. Car, 12, 13 minutes in and out on a
It's my superpower.
I
tell
love
people
it.
that all the time because they're like, how do you manage all this stuff mentally? And you get up so super early and I'll still work, 11, 12 o'clock. 5 hours is more than enough for me because I power nap.
I have two secrets. One is the power nap and the other one is the candle.
We got to talk about candles. I know nothing about candles. I like the soy candle thing versus the other stuff.
Yeah.
I know fragrance chemically is a big deal, and I've more focused in on natural health. For a long time, I've been in. I actually owned a company called Alternative Healthcare for years. So I was really big on alternatives to all these chemicals and stuff, and like just scents and smells in the house and perfumes and stuff. So I have tried to be, but I mean, there's so many. I've smelled some candles. I'm like, I don't care if that's chemical.
I think that might be a fun preneur adventure for us as we come up with that. But we'll come back to that. But I love your wife shift. I could see you really looking at that sunrise. And I respect that because, see, what I love about what I'm hearing, and I hope that the people watching and listening to this can sense in what I'm feeling from you, is a true sense of gratitude, a sense of being. You said various times, I'm just being. And then when you come from a place of being and a restful place of peace that our faith can bring, and hopefully your faith can bring, everything else on top of that is 1,000% bonus. And then when you can continue that motion, it does evolve in a beautiful Slumdog Millionaire, perfect things at the right time that organically happen. And then when you do have to put in the grit or your good habits that you've done and roll up your sleeves that made you who you are, but then adding that famous question, can it and will it be better? All that ties into who you are today. And I love seeing that.
That question stopped for me. I don't ask anymore, can I make it better? I just do the best version of it that I think for me is better. Because I've stopped trying to build things for everyone else. I'm more just, if I identified a gap, I've internalized what I think makes it the best version. And if I pour everything I have into it and it fails, so be it. It wasn't meant to be. So I stopped chasing the what makes it better, because you can do this forever. And you just follow this path of, does it make it better for everybody? And is everybody going to be happy with it? And you get lost in the everyone else syndrome. And what I find is like the most successful things were built because someone had a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
Not an idea about how they could make it better than whatever else is out there. There's actually and I don't know who talked about this, but it just got brought up in a meeting this past weekend about Apple coming out with their stuff and Microsoft being focused on how they were going to beat Apple. And Microsoft lost. I mean, I think it was the Zune versus the iPod. And the Zune was like, how are we going to beat the iPod?
Right.
They failed. I mean, it was a horrible flop.
But, I love what you said because, another speaker spoke real quick on that. And it was how at the same time, Kmart, Walmart, a couple all came out around the same time. Kmart went to, I want to say, fact check me, it was either 500 or 5,000. It was considerable amount where Walmart had 9 at the time, a couple years later.
Yeah.
2.5 years later, it was 500 to 9. We'll fact check it, but I believe I'm in that time. I'm pretty close. Well, we know what Walmart is today. I believe that
I saw her yacht in Miami.
The least richest child, I think there's 4, is worth $50 billion. The least. Point of that story is to what you were sharing a validation is you focus on what you feel is what you want to do. And I feel there's a balance in what you said. Yes, the question, because I know people that are always asking that question because they're chasing it. Better, better, better. And I don't believe it's a bad question. I believe it's what you stem it from.
Yeah.
And that's what's changed for you. Because see, what changed for you is you used to do it for the wrong reasons. As I did things for the wrong reasons. We want everyone's approval, validation, everyone fit in. We're all guilty of that. But I would love people to see this show and hear this and go, hey, ask the question within reason, but do it because it's filling. You ask the question, there's a gap. I love this. Let's say it is candles. Let's just say you go off on this quest to go, hey, is there a candle? And this goes to one of the guests that I had on the show. And you'll meet her. She created her own nail polish. Non-toxic, non-chemical, all just now I think she's at 500 locations, 15 countries, Whole Foods, Air One.
That's fantastic.
On that quest, right? Couldn't be done, shouldn't be done. Well, here you are. So I get what you're saying. So the why shifted. So on that, because time is flying, and I love this. See, I tell you, Jeremy, no, do never say that's the one. No apologies podcast and show. The next one, I know you had a question for me. So before I go to that one, did you have a question for me?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
You asked me why.
Okay.
And I was going to ask you why for yourself personally, but I kind of wanted to know what's the end result of this podcast? What are you trying to accomplish?
Oh, that's a great question. And no one's asked me that question, let alone on the air. Well, it's similar to what you just said. I see a gap in our world, in our society, of everyone trying to tell everybody 2 things: how to get rich or do things better by quick 30-second reels. And most of that is a lie. And the other part is you're never good enough. So just fit in and accept everybody for the wrong reasons. So how do I change this message? How do I not become, if you had 4 people speaking, is it the loudest one that you're going to listen to? When everyone's the same, what's going to make you stand out? So the only thing I feel that stands out in life is actions, hence the candle slogan. You cannot lie about actions. You could fake it for a while. You can get away with it for a while, but ultimately, actions don't lie. And I believe for me, what I want from this podcast, what I want from this show, what I want from this journey is for one person at a time to walk away going, I'm going to be my best. Because there's a prayer in the Bible called the prayer of Jabez. And it changed my life 27 years ago now. Bless me indeed, O Lord, enlarge my territory. Keep your hand with me so I may cause no harm or evil. Now, in biblical times especially, names are very powerful. And Jabez, the name translation is horrible birth. Horrible birth. So Jeremy and Henry means horrible birth. That's how we're starting off life. Wow. Thanks, Mom. So therefore, Jabez had this conversation with God saying, I'm not going to let the name dictate my living on this earth. So for me, being my best, and similar to what you said, being the best Jeremy is going to be the best husband, the best boss, wherever that applies, the best friend, et cetera, et cetera. And so many people bypass the best because no, that's selfish. No. What's the first thing they say on a plane? Oxygen, just put it over yourself first.
So you can help others. Yeah.
That's right. So that's my why, is to have people come on this show, share a little about real life, whether some have made it rich, some are still poor. It don't matter. The only thing that matters is, to me, is for the young generation, older generation, to ultimately be their best. And then I am creating books, singular podcast versions, and more specific things where they can apply these principles. To me, I wrote this book here, Live Now, that if I died today, Jeremy, if today was my last day, I'm telling you before camera, I regret nothing. Can we do better? Of course, who couldn't? But regret means that you're not fully satisfied with the life you have today. And God's clear, be content in all. All, God? Through the divorce? Yes. Through this? Yes. Through this? Yes. Because it made you who you are today. So for me, my why and my drive is to help people, because I believe if I'm my best, I'm going to be the best friend I can to you, the best boss, create good companies, be a good father. And that, to me, is why the one seed matters. That is my drive. And I had to shelf this dream for 15 years, this podcast.
Well, I don't know if you shelved it. It just wasn't the right time.
Thank you. I received that. Correct. So it was content put aside. Nope. Boom. So thank you for that. So now I feel like, okay, I'm blessed with Brownstone. I'm blessed with that. And like you, I'm good. And I can multitask a little bit and make it strong and get up a little bit at the 5:30 with you and get it done. And then I get to work that in. But to me, to hear your story and to hear yours, and then I want people to not just be inspired for a moment. I want them to go, okay, well, I have a dream, Jeremy. Did you, can I talk to Jeremy one day? And I like to we're creating maybe you'll have some creative ideas, but this is your world of apps. is our vision is to have this, it's called Vibe Concierge. When you think of concierge, right, right?
I like concierge.
Yeah, I know you do. I do too. But think of a life concierge for a moment. I don't want to pitch this, but this is the essence of my heart. It is where people go to this app and we can guide them either in their personal life, business life, or family life, because to me it's business, myself, family, and then business outward. So that if we can guide them a little bit with proper steps that can help them along their way, and maybe they have a cool idea, or maybe they just need a little hope, and they have some kind of platform where I can help create a community online for people to kind of meet each other, but keeping it real.
There's no instruction book for this, right?
No.
And
no.
I wish these platforms exist. I mean, everybody's going to say this. I mean, we're in an age with unlimited information, a lot of misinformation,
a
lot of misdirection for the sake of profit.
Yeah.
So it's hard to weed out the garbage.
Yeah.
And often it's like you start down the path, and then the next thing you know, you're like, and then it's $700 a month here.
Right.
But it's like draining what little these people have to get ahead. And no one's really thoughtfully led outside of a lot of religious practices, which also have similar problems and challenges.
Yeah.
Tithings and other things that come into play that you're like, hey, I want to help. Church got $40 million, hasn't put a doorknob on it. Okay, I get it.
Right.
But there's also, like, I wish this stuff existed for all of those things, right?
Well, Jeremy, look, I'll keep it simple because I want to go back to you because I love hearing about you. But I'm just telling you now, I'm going to create it. I'm telling you now, I'm going to create it because it's not coming from a place. The number one question is how you can make money. I'm going to take every extra dollar I have, which I've been doing for Coach Henry, and that's coming in next. I'm strategically placing it so that money cannot rule me, so that political parties cannot rule me, bureaucrats cannot rule me, because I want it to be something real to exactly what you just said. So there's no, you got here to this door for $59.99. No. So I haven't shared it a lot, to be honest with you, except for my initial core group, because when people start hearing me, they right away go, so I said, there's a great guy that's out there, so I stopped talking about it. But it's being created.
That's awesome.
And because when we do launch it, it would be for the purest form to bless people for the right reasons. So sorry, there's a long answer to your why, but that was the answer to my why.
We're very much aligned then,
Yeah.
right? We want to do. It's all about a little bit bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
If you could touch a couple people along the way and you can help them get somewhere better than where they're at, it's amazing. Which is kind of that's kind of what I've started from a lifestyle designing perspective. What can I do to impact?
Yeah.
First, me.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a giving back to myself first, self-love, if you will, in time and silence and just even giving back to myself. And then that translates into much bigger things for other people, and it has, and it's been rapidly increasing, which is great. So I can give back even more, putting your mask on first, so to speak. So that's really, it seems as though that's exactly the same path, which is probably why we click even before we talked about it. I feel like there's that energy happens a lot. You more recently for me anyway, I've noticed I've gravitated towards more people like me with similar values, similar cultures to do these things. And that partnership has been great in together building that, which is ultimately my goal, right? So now I know the reason why I keep meeting these people, like why I keep meeting these amazing people. And I still have that really bad, voice in the back of my head that's like, what's the angle? What are they trying, what are they trying to get out of this? But it's like more and more, there's no angle. They're just another great set of people over and over and over again. And that was all manifested. There was a point where, and you'll probably see this on my website at some point, I used to write these yearly goals. And it was one year my wife had just about lost it. She was like, I hate Miami. I had just uprooted. I left my job. I had a really, really good job. I still had my side businesses and I was doing extremely well with all of it. But I was like, we're going to uproot. We're going to go to Miami. It's going to be an amazing life. And she's like, I hate it here. I hate it. And she was devastated that she had uprooted from Canada, came to Chicago. We went from Chicago there. And I said, well, what is it? It's like, no friends, no this, no that. No family here. We're not seeing anybody. We keep meeting people, but really low quality people. Like I knew what they drove and how much they made in 8 seconds before I knew their name. So I wrote it. This is the things we want to achieve. Meet amazing, beautiful, honest human beings that have a similar path, right? Similar purpose. And it was literally right after I wrote that year, I remember waking up and Casey goes, we have too many friends. I can't get a break. So I'm like, what else? I know manifesting is a big thing, but I spend so much time pointed on emotionally guiding what I want to achieve. And that's why I keep meeting people like you, that we have so much alignment in our purpose to help so many other people. And that everything else just comes naturally from that. So
Amen. Amen, Jeremy. I love what you shared, and I want to just touch on that for a moment because,
Sure.
Look, I live in as you get to know me, my acronym is a PPP, which is a plan, pray, and proceed, right? And for me, it's because look, I know just like you've shared your story, and I can relate. I know what it's like not to have.
Mine is PPP too. Can somebody look at my website? I don't even know what it says. Passion with a purpose. Stop it. JeremyLaceris.com. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
do not be sorry. Yeah.
People's passions with a purpose.
Wow.
Strange.
I know I had it up already.
Wow. Wow. Well, look at okay, guys. We both love our 3 Ps, and they're both great. We're a P club, but that's beautiful. And I love what you said. And look, and I think the back of your mind, really quick, I think it's good that you stay wise. We both stay wise because there are those sharks out there. But I believe, again, with actions, everything is separated, right? The separation of the sea. But that's why we both came from a place of not knowing. And I had to go through some bankruptcies and other hardships in my life. So I know literally what it's like. And I had to restart my life at 40 years old. And we'll get into all that later another time. But even at 48 and a half is when I made this change into Brownstone, the career, and then this. I mean, I'm not 20 years old. I mean, this is a jump. But I wouldn't trade it because the grit to your farming, if you will, And when I get up in the mornings, my knees touch the ground. I thank God every day for a moment to do good. I want to use my platforms, Jeremy, like you said. I want to use my platforms for good. I know that God's going to do some amazing things, already has. There's something about you. That's my gift as a coach for all these years is I'm just switching my coaching from just in the ring to life. And that was its own battle, which we'll talk about another time, which I love it because we'll live cliffhanging for episode number 2, 3, 4, and 5. But I appreciate your journey. I appreciate you. I feel one of my gifts is I sense people. I know who is real and I know who I just need to tolerate. Truly.
It's a good
it's
a great way to put it.
And those that I have to tolerate, I'll keep at arm's length and just pray and just love them from a distance. And I talk about in my book about people that who's in my house. And I'm grateful that you're in my house, Jeremy. I'm grateful
Thanks,
for the
man.
alignment. I'm grateful for your heart. I'm grateful Casey's great. I tell her, when she sees this, or tell her the fact that she could throw a football, come on, that was a big plus, right? But her heart's great. And I love you two together, by the way. It's just a great dynamic duo. But again, I said this earlier, but I think this will be my tagline is the hardest part of my show is it coming to an end. Look at the time. It's flying. And I love that. But since we have to wrap it up, this is important to me. What is a 30-second elevator pitch about you, Jeremy, that no matter where someone in life is kind of a mixture of a rah-rah, but a sincere don't give up? What does that look like? I know it's a powerful one. Hey, by the way, everybody, I don't tell everybody what we're talking about, so thank
I
you
didn't
for
get these questions.
Yeah, no one has prep work. This is.
I need ChatGPT for this. Hang on. This is my phone.
And you're talking to a guy that thinks with an amazing part of his brain. But I am putting you on the spot, and thank you for just coming on this show, not knowing what we're talking about. And that trust.
I came to have a conversation. I wanted to get to know you. So this was more about coming and hanging out than it was, podcast or a camera.
And I appreciate that.
Wow, man. You're asking me hard questions.
Take a moment. Take a moment because you know what?
I like to think through things now. My mouth is my biggest enemy often. Here's an answer. I have an answer for everything. It's just when I answer quickly, they're bad.
Take a moment. I mean, technically, we have 90 seconds. So
I have to make it quick then. What would be a rah-rah for everybody listening?
Yet real. Real, because you've been real this whole time. And I love that. And we are just having a conversation. But I also know there's people at different stages of life. Jeremy.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, everybody's looking for a magic bullet or a pill or something. It's hard work. This is not easy. I think everybody sees these podcasts and they go, I can just apply that one thing. Like there's some magic pill you can take. It's not one thing. There's depth. There's a lot of depth to this, getting to this point.
Yeah.
I wrote something a while back. I journal, and I'm a terrible writer, but I journal things, and I remember somebody saying, "You're so lucky."
I have a quote for that one for you.
Oh, I'm 20-year overnight success.
Amen.
So it's going to take time.
Yeah.
You're going to do it tomorrow if you just do these things. That's not true. It's not going to happen.
But that's raw and real.
I'm not saying that it can't happen. I'm not saying that you should manifest that it's not going to happen for you. There are definitely lottery winners all the time. But the reality of most things is that it takes depth, and you got to take time, and you got to find the right coaches, so to speak, that resonate with you emotionally, not just what you see they have or have achieved. Because I started by following people who had the results I wanted, and I was like, those are the people. And then you find out later, we don't have the same morals. My compass is very different than that person's. But it takes time to get to know that.
Right.
So I think it's just take time.
Yeah, but listen, by the way, I love that because that's the real answer. You listen, real quick, we do live in a place where it's all, like I said, the lies. So what you just shared is the truth, is that you said it best. You're a 20-year overnight success.
Yeah.
But that's the word I want them to get from you. That's real and that's a raw. But the raw is it can happen. The real is you got to put the effort in it for it to be a sustainable life. So I appreciate that truth. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
truth. So
you know, you see people on Instagram and you see social media and you see all this stuff and you're like, that guy, look at that. You're like, you have no idea the pain or the family money,
right.
that attributed to that private jet that they took.
Well, I'll
or
share
whatever.
with you
So-
a quote, and the quote says that do not call me lucky. I am blessed and favored. And it goes into why so I get it. And again, I love it. So thank you for that real and raw. I think that's all I wanted, and you gave it. And thank you for doing it in less than 90 seconds because
I think I'm way over.
It's okay. We're okay. Thank you, Jeremy, for real, for having a conversation with me, because it is a very different objective of why. And I'm not going to always answer that question right away because it's deeper. But I believe that you align with that, and I appreciate that truly. And it's going to be fun on this journey. It's our like I said, $1 million Slumdog Millionaire journey. of
I'm
the
excited
right
to watch
things.
it. That's the
you.
thing. Like I
Thank you.
asked you why you're doing this, but then I'm going to be a fan watching this every time as it unfolds,
Thank
because
you.
I love seeing this stuff take shape. So I'm really excited to see where this goes.
Thank you. I mean that. And guys, as you know, we will put all the information on how to connect with Jeremy down the way. We'll definitely have some follow-ups. And thank you for being and having a real conversation with me. And guys, thank you to our sponsors again. You'll see them in the taglines. And till next time with Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us.